Up and go back.
Okay.
So
I don't see a status. Oh, no, there we go. Okay, yeah, there's a status. All right, great, great.
Yeah, right now it says 0% uploaded.
Yep.
And then it should update in a few seconds.
Yeah,
there we go, 44% uploaded.
Bouncing around now. So
yeah, that's the benefit of Riverside 2, is that if somebody has a spotty internet connection, because it's recording natively to your computer and then uploading it, like, sometimes it'll say something like, due to internet speeds or something, we've shut off video to these people. So, when it does that, you don't have to stop talking. So, anyway, this has been Tech Talk with Chuck and David. So, okay.
I know I don't have the humor to replace Mark, but I do have that little model right there.
There you go.
I don't know. It can remind us of him, I guess, because he's got the picture of the same car.
Exactly.
That's right. Sure does. Yeah. No, don't worry about a thing, man.
Right now, I think that one's in a box somewhere right now, because he's all packed up.
Yeah.
His backdrop's looking a little Spartan. But,
his room looks like a prison cell.
As opposed to a prison cell of his own making. Boxed in by his own diecast.
Yeah.
We like to get existential on this show.
This has been Philosophy Talk with Chuck and David. Anyway, all right, let's go.
You're watching Diecast Breakdown with Chuck Ellis, David Johns, and Mark McHotwheel. So sit back, strap in, and hang on. The breakdown starts now.
Hey there, folks. Chuck here, and thank you for joining us today. I am super excited because we've got Mr. Andrew Price of Maple Leaf Customs joining us from that beautiful, mysterious land known as Switzerland, where they make all that hot chocolate. And he's going to be talking to us about customs and his amazing philosophy of giving away every custom he makes. But before that, we got a lot of diecast topics to discuss. I am joined, as I typically am, by my good friend and co-host, Mr. David Johns.
What's going on, guys?
And I am also joined by Robert Sellers.
Hey,
how's it
everybody.
going, Robert?
Hey.
Robert has the Scale Enthusiasm channel on YouTube. He is a fellow collector and has a great little channel. I was just catching up on some of his stuff. And Rob, you just moved, right?
I did, yeah. Man, I timed it as horribly as possible. I used to live in Charlotte, and I moved the week before the Hot Wheels Nationals in Charlotte. So
that's how you do
I
it.
hadn't really been paying attention to it because I was about to move, and then I start seeing people posting all these pictures of these awesome models that say Charlotte on the card. So I don't know. I might have to try and get one of those, although I would feel bad because I wasn't actually there. But still, it's Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
That's my home city. I grew up there. So anyway,
Who's gonna know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Me.
Collecting convention cars from conventions you're not actually attending is a different discussion for a different time. But
yeah, probably.
yeah, but Rob, we're really excited to have you on. Thank you for filling in. Mark wishes he could be here with us, but he is in the process of moving and needed to take a little bit of a time out to take care of some family business. So we wish him nothing but the best, and we miss him, and we're looking forward to having him back when he is ready. So if you get a chance, go over to Dotson Man Diecast and wish him and Kimber the best of luck. I know he's going to try and keep posting, but he might be on a little bit of a blackout while he gets all that taken care of. But today we are here to talk about diecast cars. And as we usually do, I'm going to start with you, David. Tell me, what is exciting you in the world of diecast this week?
You're going to love some of the stuff that will hit the shelves soon. I am going to go out on a limb, and Rob, you correct me, and Chuck, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have never had a Zamac Bone Shaker in the past, and Hot Wheels has one of those coming out very soon. Keep an eye out for that. We've got also some really cool green light wheel sets that are coming out that are specific to automakers. You customizers will love this. We've got Cadillac sets. We've got another Ford set, and we've got Bridgestone tire sets as well. Now, for our European, UK, everywhere else in the world, viewers and listeners, Majorette has a Dacia 1300 coming out. I know for a guest of the show, Romeo in Romania, loves his Dacias. They are out of Romania, so keep an eye out for that. That is coming out from Majorette. It is a 1300. That is the casting. Chuck, that's what I've got that I'm looking forward to. What about you?
Romeo from Romania with his Dacia. I love it. And yes, I agree. I'm with you on the wheel and tire sets from Greenlight. Greenlight was my gateway, if you will, to the world of customizing, seeing those out there on the shelves and going, wait a minute, people do that? That's amazing.
That's right.
I got to look this up.
Yep.
And I immediately went to YouTube and found all of this fun stuff. M2 has a very cool 1960 VW single cab version of their VW bus. They have that little shorty bus and they've made it into a pickup truck, and it's very cool. They've got some prototype images up that you're seeing right now if you're watching the video version. Matchbox has also got, talking about weird European cars, a 1975 Opel Kadett C GTE coming out, and I am very excited about that one. I love me some good mid-70s European boxy garbage cars. I actually just picked up a bunch of late 60s, early 70s Citroens and Peugeots from, I think some of them are Majorette, some of them are Yachtming, and I think I got a few Tamicas on eBay recently on a group buy, and it was a very cool find. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, this is the year of the fantasy car. Like, I've gone from hating anything to do with the fantasy cars to a grudging respect to some of them, and this year has really just been some really good ones. Like the lowrider that Hot Wheels has, that tuner truck, and now Matchbox has this delightful novelty vehicle called the Push and Pull that's coming out that looks like a car with two front ends on it, and reminds me of there was a roadside attraction up in the Appalachians that had a Dodge Monaco police car that was front and front like that, and just reminds me of fun, quirky stuff from the 70s and 80s that people were doing with cars at the time. So love that one. Looking forward to customizing that one. Also, speaking of Greenlight, in June, they are going to be releasing the 1991 Ford Mustang SSP, which is the police version. It was a notchback, and they have done this before, and that's something that is not new to Greenlight, but this one is special because, well, to me anyway, it's special. It is going to be done in the Florida Highway Patrol livery, and in the early 90s, cool. The 1991 Ford Mustang was the police car in the state of Florida. Like, it was like, if there was a car chase that was going to happen, you were not going to get away from that car, because those cars were wicked fast, they were wicked light, and the only way you had a hope of getting away from them was if they tried to take an on-ramp too fast. Because they were Mustangs, and they did what Mustangs do when they're on-ramps and going too fast. But I remember those being, and they still are, highly desirable collectible cars once they were decommissioned, because they were so light and so fast, and they had this mean black and tan livery that's kind of legendary in the South. And you see those colors and you go, okay, we got to back down. The Doberman's out. And anyway, and personal collecting news, I bought a 5-pack of Hot Wheels, which I never ever do. And there's a reason for that. Because usually they've either got stuff I already have, or the mix isn't quite right, and they got something that's got a cool tempo job. But this one I bought for the sake of the show, and here's why. Now, David, if you recall talking to Brendan when we were talking about a particular type of car, he said that we might see the crushed vehicles show up in a 5-pack someday.
Get out of town.
There it is. So the crushed cars that he designed that are normally only with the monster trucks, he had hinted at that on our show. So you heard it here first.
That's big, guys.
And so I had to pick that up. Also, this is a really cool set. It's all Demo Derby themed. So like the Impala is done up like a Demo Derby police car, and you got a salvage, I think that's a Super Bee, and you've got the tow truck, and then I forget what this guy is.
It's called
the Enforcer. And first of all, still cool that they make it. It always baffles me that Hot Wheels is still doing cars with guns on them, but good for them. And I don't know how that works in a Demo Derby, but maybe it's an Alabama Demo Derby. Who knows? So anyway, that's what's exciting me this week. Rob, your turn.
Yeah, so Majorette is coming out with a new GTR, and it's got the classic Majorette wheels on it. I think they're doing a few cars like that. And yeah, it's just a really cool looking release that's coming up from them. Majorette has been doing a lot of really great stuff lately. For you guys that are in the United States, be sure to be checking your Hobby Lobby and even Target now, wherever else that might have them, because especially some of the Porsches that they've done recently. Super, super awesome.
Yeah.
Another thing, and I don't know if you guys have mentioned this on an episode yet, but Mini Champs is coming back. Mini Champs is one of my favorite brands. They have still been around in larger scale, but they are coming out with a couple of Porsches in 164. They used to do 164 years and years ago. And at one point, they were about the best 164 models that you could get. And nowadays, we kind of have a overabundance of high quality 164. So I don't know if they're going to be quite as like at the top of the market like they were back then. But still really excited to see that.
That's a great point, Rob. They 20, 25 years ago, they set the bar for what everybody is doing right now. It is just amazing how ahead of the game they were back then.
Oh yeah. And then on a little bit of a personal note for me, some of you might know that I am a big fan of this Porsche 911 GT3 casting from Matchbox. There is a variation of this one right here that has double 10-spoke wheels that I have been trying to find for years. One is on eBay right now. The auction is live. I don't know when this video or when this podcast will go live.
It will be long sold.
Yeah, it'll be long sold, hopefully to me. So I'm super excited about that. I might have to spend way too much money on it because I have not found one, and I've probably been looking for 2 years.
Best of luck to you, man.
Hoping I can win that. We'll have to see what happens.
All right. Yeah. We'll
Very
need
cool.
an update on that one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. Well, that's what's exciting us in the world of Diecast. What's exciting you in the world of Diecast? Tell us in the comments below or shout it at your computer, because why not?
Why not?
We're all screaming right now. It's fun. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to talk with David about the generosity of collecting. So stick around.
We'll be back with more Diecast Breakdown after this word from our sponsors. Here's this week's small channel shout-out.
Paco's Diecast Garage.
If you have a favorite Diecast channel with less than 700 subscribers and you'd like to see them highlighted on a future episode, email us at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. Did you know 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts are a great way for Diecast Breakdown to grow? It's also a great way to help kids in need. For every review left on Apple Podcasts, Diecast Breakdown will donate 2 Diecast cars to Hot Wheels for Hope. Make a difference in a kid's life and help Diecast Breakdown reach new listeners by reviewing us on Apple Podcasts today. The Diecast Media Network store is here. Wear your passion with pride, featuring designs from Diecast Breakdown, Flying Valiant builds, plus unique designs inspired by diecast culture from Justin Ellis. Visit tpublic.com/Diecast Media Network now. We'd like to take a moment to thank our executive producer level patrons. First and 64th Customs, Video Geek Productions, Jonathan Von Nesh, Donald Raschick, and Twice Diecast. Please stick around till the end of the episode for our full list of partners and learn how you can support this project at diecastmedianetwork.com. Now back to Diecast Breakdown.
All right, well, we are back, and we are talking about something that is on David's heart today, and that is being a generous collector. So, David, tell me about this seemingly contradiction in terms.
Well, thank you, Chuck. And guys, I want to frame this as maybe a continuing conversation that we have on Diecast Breakdown, because I know I feel this strongly about it, and I know Chuck and Mark and even Rob today, that is a big part of why we do what we do, why we collect, why we are so engaged in this hobby. It's because of the really nice, decent people that are in our hobby with us. And part of that is a result of, it's just a natural byproduct of being generous in nature. And we're not here to pat each other on the back or pump each other up, but it is okay to acknowledge and recognize the good that comes in the community when we give back when we can, when we have the opportunity. We've got one of the most humble, nicest guys in the world let alone in our diecast community coming up later.
Oh,
and we've also got Andrew from Maple Leaf Customs along with Chuck. No, having Andrew on this episode really focused me this week to think about why he does what he does, and I can't wait for you guys to hear why he gives away every single custom he does. He doesn't sell them. He doesn't trade them. He gives them to people that will never give him back anything in return. So hang around for that interview. I know you'll love it. But let's talk about it. Let's keep this conversation going about how we can make our community better by giving back a little bit here and there. You know, I've thought of different examples of generosity in our community. And it's really remarkable that Rob is here today, because not too long ago, I got the coolest box in the mail from Scale Enthusiasm, Mr. Rob, on your screen there. It was an amazing green light diorama from the Blues Brothers, a movie that I love and have watched literally every time I see it on TV. I stop and watch it. So, Rob, you don't know how much that meant to me, and it just jumped to mind as I was thinking about this episode. So first off, thank you, Rob, for that. I want to kind of, at this point, bring Chuck and Rob into this conversation, because I want us to talk about how it's benefited us in our hobby and our collecting when we give back, and how we end up meeting new friends, and maybe share some experiences that will encourage you to consider doing the same. Chuck, give me your thoughts on this topic and why it also is pretty important to you.
Well, and I really appreciate you bringing this up, David, because it's funny. I actually, one of my first interactions with David was him sending me some stuff when I was first getting started, which was very kind of him. I was just getting started in the hobby, and I was just getting started in creating YouTube content. And I found David's channel pretty early on, and he found me, and he liked what I was doing, and I liked what he was doing. And he had mentioned that his local Ollie's had this really cool van from Racing Champions. Right. And I was like, oh man, I would, love to get my hands on one of those. And he hooked me up with one, and I still have the very nice note that he wrote and the van, and someday I will actually customize it. But it was just really cool. And the thing that I see when you do this sort of stuff, it's not like this kind of stuff, like what David did for me. That's not just being a nice guy and being generous, although it is, but it's also investing in the hobby. It's investing in encouraging other people to keep going, keep creating. And so it encourages dialogue. It encourages communication, because it's even like between me and my brother, who didn't used to talk very much. Like, we're close. It's just that we both are the kind of people that you have to reach out to us to talk to us. And since we're both those people, neither of us ever reach out to each other. And now he texts me all the time and is like, hey, I'm in the store. These are the ones I was thinking you would like. And so I actually have gotten some really cool stuff. I just got another one of those Toyota Starlets, because they had one at his shop in Knoxville, that Hot Wheels premium that is really super cool. So I'm glad to, I'll have one to customize and one to display. And I'm very excited about that. And it's just a great way to feel like you're investing in the hobby, and it can be a lonely hobby. You're gathering cars. A lot of times you're buying them from some faceless corporation, or even if you're buying them from like a mom and pop store or a flea market, those people are in the business of selling, not necessarily in the business of collecting. So, it gives you people to talk to. It gives you opportunity to swap stuff back and forth. And Mark has talked about this before on the show, but make sure if you're going to do a random act of kindness, or an ROAK, as you might see on a bunch of YouTube videos, you really have to understand, like, giving that box is not you saying, now you give me something.
Right.
Like, that is very much I'm putting this out there, and thank you. I really appreciate you being a cool part of the community. If that person chooses to send something back, that's great. And Mark has a very funny little sketch about the back and forth that sometimes happens, where people will be like, oh, and I threw some extra stuff in the box. By the way, make sure I threw some extra stuff in the box. So if you did also want to throw some extra stuff in your box, that would be great too. Just let's just cut all that fluff and falderall and just be a person of your word.
Yep.
If you're going to send something, send it. don't expect anything back. If they send something back, make sure that it's something that you agreed upon if you're doing a trade. For me, it's been really helpful because I am the kind of person that creates an obsessively long list of vehicles that I want. And I've had people say, are you keeping an eye out for anything? And we'll swap lists back and forth. And so if I find something, I'll snap a picture and send it to them. And it widens your social circle. It gets you in a giving spirit. And I think that's, again, an easy thing to fall into. We've talked a bit about the psychology of collecting and the dopamine rush that you get from purchasing a new car and adding it to your collection, and how you can end up chasing this weird dragon of adding to your collection to the point that you've just got a pile of cars that, if you're like me and you're looking at these and going, I've got 5,000 or 6,000 cars now that I'm not going to, like, these are ones that I wanted to customize. And if I did one a day, I'd have like 10 years worth of vehicles to do. And it's a good way to get your mind thinking of, well, how could these help other people? And how do I think quality over quantity? And is this something that would be better off in Mark's collection or David's collection? Would this be something that would be meaningful for them? And then you've got the other side, which is things like Hot Wheels for Hope, or the stuff that Andrew does, where it's going to a kid in need, or someone who isn't even in the community, a child that would benefit from this toy that we've heard over and over again. We've talked to Mike Zarnock and Chris Walker and Bruce Pascal. What is it about these? Why do they have the staying power? And it's just because it's such a universal toy. You can do so much with it. It's a piece of reality that's also a bit of fantasy, and like, it is a toy that you can interact with and race and crash and display and do all sorts of stuff. And it's so simple, and it requires no power, and you can fit it in your pocket. Just about any kid, boy or girl, loves Hot Wheels cars, Matchbox cars, diecast cars. So to be able to put those out there in the universe and share the love of the hobby and give a kid something meaningful that they can play with for years and years is some of the things that I love about the hobby as a customizer, as a collector, and as a member of the community.
Let me touch on that real quick, because if you are a little bit more introverted, there's ways to spread the hobby without, putting yourself out there. What if you gave away Hot Wheels to trick-or-treaters at Halloween? What if you do like me? I go to car shows, and sometimes I pick up a few Hot Wheels on my way there, and I'll pass them out to dads with kids and let them just pick one out of the bag. So there's so many different ways to do it, and it's all up to your comfort level. So Rob, you share your experiences. I know you've got some similar stories to tell, so I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I'm just imagining David with a van and going, "Hey kid, come over here and pick up."
Maybe he should do that.
That's why he has the Corvette, like, because in a Corvette there's no smuggling children in a Corvette.
Transparent.
Yeah. No, so giving is, and being generous is super, super important. This isn't a personal finance podcast, but really high level, there's like 3 kind of overall things you can do with money. And that is invest, spend, and give. And spending can be fun, especially when you're doing it on toys, but giving is something that really can be just as enjoyable and just as fulfilling as spending. And it's super important to do that no matter kind of where you're at. And just this community, this diecast community specifically, has been just super awesome at it. I see it everywhere. Particularly, David, you do giveaways all the time on your channel, which is amazing. And I try to do some as well. And it's just like, you've got to do it. It's so fulfilling from a personal standpoint, not only for who is receiving the gift, but also for you as the person that's giving it. And I do want to brag on a couple of specific examples. David, you mentioned that box that I sent you with the Blues Brothers diorama. You sent me a box in exchange there, so that was more of a trade, but I don't think we quite knew what each other was getting. You sent me a bunch of stuff, and I wanted to point out this thing right here. This is an amazing piece for me. This is a Lotus Elise in 1/43rd scale. I love 1/43rd. I love Lotuses in general, specifically the Elise. So that car spent pretty much all of its time after it got to me in my big curio case that I've got. It's not in there right now because there's nothing in there. So it didn't not make the cut or something. Don't worry about that. So yeah, but everything in that box was incredible. Like I said, I think I knew 3 or 4 things that were in there, but then it had twice as much as I was expecting. And I was just that video is up on YouTube, and you can see or hear the surprise in my voice as I opened it. But yeah, so that was amazing. And then I got to brag on one other gift that I've received. This is something that I got from YouTuber. Well, he's not even really a YouTuber. He just comments and watches my channel and probably y'all's as well. But his name is Mikey Mike. And I have talked a little bit about this Carney display case that I had at my old house where I had kind of had the cars arranged so that they were numbered sequentially from 1 all the way to 108. And there were a bunch of empty spaces. And it was like the racing numbers of the race cars. So I didn't really talk too much about it. I mentioned it in a couple videos, and I probably showed the whole thing at some point. And Mikey noticed that number 42 was missing, and I don't know how well it's going to show up. But this is a car from, I think it's from, Macau GT Cup. So from like a Southeast Asian racing series, but its racing number is 42. So he noticed that I was missing. And he bought that, and it's not like a basic Hot Wheels or something. This is a, premium hobby grade Tarmac Works. He bought that and sent it to me. I kind of tried to talk him out of it. He's just like, no, I'm going to do this. And what's your address? And just take it. So that was incredible. And yeah, that was just, he doesn't have a channel. He doesn't have an Instagram. He doesn't have anything. I asked him like, what do you want me to plug?
Right.
'Cause when I mentioned this. And he just did it out of the kindness of his heart. So that was really incredible. I'll say it again. If you see his comments anywhere on YouTube videos, because he does leave comments, hit that thumbs up button on him. But yeah, and that's like, you hear me talking about this on the receiving end. But again, like when you do the giving yourself, that is just as fulfilling, if not more. And yeah, we have a super awesome habit and practice of that in the diecast community, and I'm so glad that we have people that are going to keep that up, and I'm sure keep it going for years with these. Now we have campaigns that we're starting for it. So
and awesome. I'm glad you said that, Rob, because we are going to continue, and we are going to kick it up a notch. We have talked about this on the show in the past, and I think we are all in agreement. I mentioned this to Andrew at Maple Leaf Custom. He's on board. So we've got both sides of the pond. Guys, we're going to do an International Day of Giving in the diecast community. And what that is going to look like is a specific day. We're not going to ask that you send cars to a specific location around the world. We're not going to ask anybody to incur any crazy shipping. We just want you to get out and give cars to your local church, your local shelter, your local Goodwill. And if you can stomach the idea of making a quick video or taking a photo, we would love to compile a video at the end of this. And we're talking about maybe a day in the fall as we gear up toward the holidays. And we will put together a really nice video, and we would like to incorporate everybody around the world and just, let's show the rest of the world what the diecast community is all about. Let's make a lot of kids happy with some pretty inexpensive ways to bring some joy during the holidays. If we're honest, we chose a hobby, a lot of us, for the reason that these Hot Wheels are $1. And I say, let's load up a lot of stockings, a lot of shoe boxes, and get those out to kids around the world. And if you're with me, I want to see comments asking for details about this event, because we are going to be working on it throughout the summer, and we will have something for you. This is going to happen. So I want you to be a part of it.
I'm very excited about that as well. Again, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to David's channel, and again, subscribe to Rob's channel, because why not? Scale Enthusiasm. Check him out. And we will keep you updated on those plans as they develop. But we're going to turn things now, since we've already mentioned Andrew at least 3 times in this podcast, and I think that means he has to appear behind one of us and grant a wish. But we're going to throw to a special one-on-one conversation that you had with Maple Leaf Custom. So, David, set us up.
Yeah, I had a really nice, I don't want to sound weird, but an intimate conversation with Mr. Maple Leaf Customs, and there's just so much more to him than I knew, and I'm so glad I know him more now from what I learned in this interview, and I know you're going to enjoy it, so hang around. Got a great interview coming up next.
Don't touch that dial. Diecast Breakdown will be right back after these messages. Hey kids, here's your chance to win a cool prize from Diecast Breakdown. Enter the following word or phrase into the YouTube comment section of this episode.
Today's word is coffee.
Winners will be selected 2 weeks after the air date of this episode. Be sure to subscribe for more great Diecast content and more chances to win fabulous prizes on Diecast Media Network. Can't get enough Mark McHotwheel? Subscribe to Dotson Man Diecast, Auto Peak Detailing, and the Dotson Man Diecast podcast today. Diecast Breakdown would like to thank Diecast Heroes Magazine for supporting this program. Diecast Heroes Magazine is the premier digital and print resource just for diecast customizers. Visit diecastheroes.com and see what the best customizers in the world are up to.
Let me go ahead and open it.
And now, the thrilling conclusion of this week's episode of Diecast Breakdown.
Viewers, I have got a treat for you today. We have got all the way from Switzerland, Andrew from Maple Leaf Customs, some of the best custom work you guys have ever seen on YouTube. I know a lot of you guys already know him and love his work. Andrew, thank you so much for dropping by the studio. How are you doing, my friend?
You are most welcome, and thank you for the invitation. It is second day of spring in Switzerland, and you can tell by looking outside, it is a beautiful place to live and a great time of year to be here.
I know it's lovely. I bet it's absolutely beautiful where you're at. I don't know how to even get started because I've got so much I'd like to ask you. So I would like to, let's take it all the way back. I would assume that you did not start collecting diecast 5, 10, 15 years ago. I got to suspect you've been a car fan your whole life. Can you just kind of talk about how the whole collecting bug bit you and when it happened?
Hot Wheels appeared on the scene in what, 1968, David?
Correct. Yep.
I believe so. Late 60s. I'm a 7-year-old boy, and it's the perfect time for that kind of toy to hit the market. So I remember having brand new Sweet 16 Hot Wheels at home, and the Python and the Hot Heap, and that's when I became a Corvette lover because of the Hot Wheels. And I just thought that Stingray looked so good. And I had the orange track and the loops, and we'd run it down off the kitchen table and play with our cars all day. Actually, a stronger memory for me is Tonka toys and trucks and outside in the sandbox. And I somehow, as a young boy, gravitated towards the heavy construction equipment, and at that time, Tonkas were a little bit bigger, and they were, well, made of steel. You could not destroy these with 7-year-old hands. And I would dig up my mom's flower garden with the graders and bulldozers and loaders. And of course, this is way before iPads and all the Xboxes. We played and made our own games. And I have a younger brother, and so it was him against me on the orange track, and we would race and then go outside, rain or shine or snow in Canada, and the daylight hours would just be gone, David, playing with our cars. That's my earliest memory of just being at the right age when these things came out. Were they $1 in 1968? They still are, which is an amazing thing. If they were $1 in 68, this probably was a $12 toy in today's market. But thankfully, I had a pretty good little collection, and I had the Hot Wheels case that would hold them, and that went with me whenever the family went out the door and into the big Fury 3 station wagon with no seat belts. We would play with our cars in the back seat all the way to wherever destination we were going. That's how it got started for me.
Do you recall maybe your first favorite one, your go-to?
I do. That Corvette was very special for me. And then I don't think it was one of the original Sweet 16s, but the Red Baron was a car that I just thought was great. And there was how many of your viewers can go back this far? There was a funny little song on the radio, and it was Snoopy versus the Red Baron. And I was the Red Baron, and it was a car, not a Fokker triplane, but I just thought that was a cool one to have. And just around Christmas time this year, I got a box in the mail that I knew was coming from Uncle Paulie at Diecast Graveyard. And he's very generous with many people in the community. And we became online friends and some exchanges back and forth. They said, I'm sending you a box. I didn't know what was in it, but one of the first things that came out of the wrapping was the Red Baron. And there's no way he could have known that little hook with my childhood history. But there it was, and it's the first one that I had held in my hands since 1969 or 70, whenever that came out. And now I've got one in dire need of restoration and new red lines, and I have not done that yet. So I'm building up my courage and my skills in order to take that on. But it was nostalgia is the hook that got me into doing this. And so, boom, here's a memory from way, way back on my desk now.
It's a great story, and not the first time that I've heard of people getting random selections in their gift boxes that just had incredible value that the other person could not have known. And you have to wonder when that happens. So they've only made 400 billion Hot Wheels. And for one to wiggle its way into a gift box is truly amazing. It is a fantastic hobby, and how amazing that we can send something so small and conjure up such good memories. You don't keep a lot of the customs you make, do you, Andrew? What do you do with those?
I'm only 2 years into the hobby, David, and it happened to be in March 2 years ago, 2020. I had just returned from Canada, where my two grown daughters still live, and I got off that plane and flights were grounded 2 days later, and I haven't traveled since. And it just happened that I came home. I had decided to start this. I've been watching some channels, and I had ordered an eBay lot to be sent to my oldest daughter's home in Canada while I was there, and I flew home with these. COVID happened, and my job just closed down, and I had all this time, and it was just happened to be when I decided to start. I became more interested in customizing than collecting because of this nostalgia angle, and you can't find a pristine car from the 60s or 70s. They're all in need of a makeover. And I thought, I'm not going to collect them and keep them. I've had a couple of collections, David, in my life, and I don't anymore. I had collected hockey cards. In America, you collect baseball cards. In Canada, kids get the same thing, bubble gum and 5 or 6 cards. And I collected Bobby Orr hockey cards only. Yeah, he was my favorite when I was growing up. He was the Mickey Mantle of the National Hockey League when I was a kid, and that was my dream. And Coca-Cola memorabilia was the other thing. And pretty soon, as collections do, they take over everything. Sure. And the shelf you had dedicated to your Coca-Cola cans or stuff then became Tiffany lamps hanging over the pool table and umbrellas in the backyard lounge area and all through the house. And now it's not a collection. It's an invasion of the feng shui that my wife has carefully prepared.
Yep.
So they all end up in boxes and in storage. And what kind of hobby is that? So I didn't want to start again. Now, nothing against the collectors who are watching. If that's your thing, you do it and have fun with it. And if I had the room, maybe I would. But I decided early on, David, I'm going to fix these up and just take them back to the local Goodwill store where most of them have come from since my original eBay lot. And that's what gives me some joy. If I want to remember the build, I've made a video of it and I can watch that. And I've got the extra footage that got edited out of what you will see on YouTube. So I can relive all of these. But I really do. We're all products of our upbringing. And I'm no different than anybody else. And I grew up in church. And my dad was my pastor. So you had to go. That family was going out the door to church on Sunday morning. And his father was a pastor. So I was raised with the golden rule and do unto others, and it's better to give than to receive. And all of those principles are ingrained in me. And then I followed in the family business, and I had a 30-year career as a church pastor and an overseas missionary for the last 10 or 15 years of my ministry. I was on the island of New Guinea in the jungles, and then I ended up as in a leadership position for all of Europe and Asia, based in the Black Forest in Germany, overseeing things. So serving people and giving is just part of my DNA, and that doesn't make me special or anything, but that comes into my hobby and spills over into my YouTube channel as an extension of who I am. And so a mission statement would have to include being a family-friendly channel with no swearing, ever. I don't even accidentally swear. To entertain, to educate a little bit, and to encourage other people. And giving my customs away was just a promise I made to myself from car number one. I thought, I'm going to do this and make someone else smile. And so I want to produce a quality video every Saturday. My customs work may be slow. I hope it's getting better, but I really work hard on my videos. And those who don't do this may be interested to hear. I probably spend 2/3 of my time on the video and 1/3 of my time on the car. And I put that much into it. Now, part of the story is this, David. I have a disability that's not obviously apparent, but I've lost 80% of my hearing, not through any accident or anything. It's just a degenerative situation, and I have to wear strong hearing aids. And when I'm on the computer tonight, the earbuds get you directly into my head without trains or cars honking or whatever's going on outside. I'm legally deaf in Switzerland, and so editing is a big challenge for me. I can't hear what I'm editing very well. I depend on sound bars, and I've been told that I whistle my S's. I can't stop that, and I'm sorry if it's a distracting part of my videos. I can't fix it anymore, so I apologize for that. But a long answer to your very short question, we've recently moved again, and every time we do, my wife and I downsize a little bit more as we approach retirement. We're not getting bigger homes and more stuff. We're giving things away, and there's less room to display stuff again. And so my giving cars away is not totally altruistic. I don't have space for them. And it really is just my joy to take them back to the Goodwill shop. Switzerland has a lot of immigrant families, and they're in there looking for kitchenware or furniture. It's all secondhand stuff, as you would imagine. And these are to be given away as free gifts to the kids. They're not being sold. I put them in a blister pack and I just drop them off. Or seasonally, my wife's office has a toy drive, Operation Christmas Child. You have made that a familiar charity to many of your viewers, and I wanted to help you out with that. And so that's why I give things away, and it's not a burden. It's not difficult for me, and I don't consider it to be something super heroic that I do. I just like to do that. And hopefully, that one car equals one smile. That's my hope and a guideline to live by.
I don't think anytime we do anything good, especially intentionally, I don't think that effort is ever wasted on anything. And I think it's really admirable, Andrew, that you set out intentionally to do this at the beginning, not as a result of, anything other than making it one of the primary reasons for your channel. I respect you for that. And I think we need certainly more of that in our community. I am curious if you would indulge me. Has anyone ever contacted you after getting one of your cars and had any feedback for you?
No. I get feedback from the Brokey, where the Brokey is the name. The Brokenstube is the Swiss word for the secondhand shop, Brokey. And I'm told, hey, we gave this away, and the little guy was really happy. They go out in a blister pack that I've made, and there's no YouTube channel contact URL. It's just the name.
Gotcha.
And a YouTube and a Facebook icon. I suppose you could look it up and leave a comment or something. But no, I haven't heard back. But if it's not a child-friendly car, if I've got little side mirrors on it or something that can be broken off, I put some work into that, but that could be swallowed, and these don't go to the Goodwill store for safety reasons. And I have some friends that I will hand deliver that to, and then they properly gush all over the car. And I've got feedback from people that I personally give them to, and that's a nice feeling too. I have an Alfa Romeo friend. He's restored a 1-to-1 Speciale, and I recently did that car. It was a very uncommon French casting by a company called Provence Moulage, and I finished it in Rosa Corsa Red, which is the Italian race car color, not just for Ferraris. And he was over for dinner with his wife and a few other guests, and I presented this to him, and he started following my channel after that. He's Austrian. His English is not perfect, and he became a fan of what I was doing. And while he was here, he came up. I'm in the upstairs attic. You see the A-frame behind me. I'm as high as you can go in this apartment building. And he just looked around and thought, this is something that he would like to start doing. And it was the greatest reaction from a fellow my age. And here we are looking at all the toys on the bench and work in progress.
That's amazing.
That was a face-to-face. That's the kind of reaction that I hope the little kids have when they get one of these.
Could we see that truck that you just showed? Could we see that one more time? I want to ask a question about it. Can you tell us or confirm for me if any of those pieces on there were 3D printed by you?
Yeah, this big chunk of machinery on the back, which I thought it looked like a big air conditioning unit, some industrial size thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was 3D printed. And these tiny little butterfly wing fragile side mirrors.
I thought
which
so.
Is why it didn't go to the Goodwill store. They are glued on. So there's a couple of 3D parts on that one. Yeah. So the rest is, I think it was a 62 custom Chevy. I chopped off the bed. It was a 4-horseman special build near the end of the year, November or December. And I made a flatbed truck.
I think customizers and even non-customizers can really appreciate the added realism that 3D printing has given our hobby.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. Can you talk about maybe make it less daunting for a customizer who's considering looking into 3D printing? Can you just encourage us with some lessons on how you became proficient at it?
YouTube University, David. I did a lot of research, inspired by seeing some 3D printed parts here and there added on to some cars on channels that I favor watching and following. And then I started doing some research and market analysis. What would I like to use? And then it's not just the machine, it's the type of resin that you use and the print time and the size and possibilities like that. So I had decided on what I wanted, and it was about a year ago, Christmas, and then Amazon put on a big blowout sale. Got permission from my wife. We have to ask before spending some money. But they had come down in price, and they're dropping again. So I got this the day before all the borders closed.
Fantastic.
Lockdown number 2. I think we've had 4 or 5 of them now. I live in Switzerland, but I have an international mail depot in Germany because it's cheaper on customs and import duties. So all my Amazon and eBays go to Germany. And it's only 10 minutes across the Rhine River. And I got there the day before. They locked it down for 4 months.
Wow.
I would have known it was waiting and I couldn't get it. So I got it home, and once again, lockdown and extra time, I was able to experiment and learn. YouTube, how do you do this? Supports, resin, settings, print times, and all of that, David, I just watched and learned, and like any new equipment or motorcycle or computer, you have to learn, and there's a learning curve, and with that, there's some trial and error, but it's a fun learning curve. And the very first thing you do, they have like a built-in test model. Yeah, it's on a little USB stick. Just plug this in and press play, press print, I should say, and you watch this thing built, and out comes a little kind of a fantasy warrior creature that's about this tall, would fit inside your coffee cup. And you go, I just did that. I didn't do anything. I pressed print, but it inspires you if you have a successful first print.
Absolutely.
Learn. So there are online open source websites, a very popular one called Thingiverse, and designers who know much more than I do have already designed this chunk of air conditioning, and I can download it for free. And then I can resize it and make it really big or really small and print it. Then you're inspired. I want to learn how to design these pieces myself because I've got something really custom and it needs to be this long and this wide or no deeper than that. And Tinkercad is the name of another open source program where you go and there's lots of YouTube tutorials that I downloaded and I watch them offline and then I pause it and I try this. It's actually pretty intuitive. I like art. I like design. And so the 3D printer and designing the parts seemed to be a good fit for me and this hobby. And the temptation, David, is to do everything in 3D and just go all in. And I try not to do that, but certain cars have a few more pieces than others. And then I'll go 3 cars without using one. But you could design your own wheels now, and if you're good and get a good print and you paint well with fine detail, you got a brand new set of whatever Lamborghini Sesto Elemento wheels. that look really good. It's great fun. You have to be patient. You have to take a couple of failures. You got to strike out a few times before you hit the home run. But it's great fun to learn and work with it.
And I'm just going to say, if the viewers will just hear, we're talking about two guys with a few miles on our tires saying that we can do 3D printing. So there's no excuse for you young guys out there. Yeah.
And I think the young guys will be into it. The prices are coming down. Grab one. Get one that works for you. There's so many options out there. And here it sits right on my desk. And the only frustration I have is if it's a big print job, it takes 3 or 4 hours, and I want to just watch it slice by slice. There goes your afternoon. Yep. You got to set it, go about your business, go to work for the afternoon or make dinner and come back. And then the satisfaction of taking it out, rinsing it off and going, that one came out beautifully. And it's really going to add to this car. Okay, that's a game changer. That's fun to have.
Okay,
but
so
you can learn it all online. So guys, just Google 3D resin printing. Learn about, I use water-soluble resin, so it's not as toxic to smell. I still wear gloves, but you could just wash off in water. It's environmentally friendly and safe. And having great fun. But I've had it for 1 year and used it. I think it has really kicked up a couple of the cars to the next level.
Oh, that absolutely, no doubt about that. So you referenced Lamborghini earlier, but the observant Maple Leaf Customs fan will notice one brand seems to make an appearance a few more times than the others. So talk about your love of Porsche and where that comes from. And then I've got a follow-up question for you after you tell us a little bit about that.
If I could, Maple Leaf Customs would be a Porsche channel, but all Porsche makes Jack a dull boy. So I space them out as best I can. And then I come alive for this once a year. I've done 2 anniversary build-offs where everybody does a Porsche, including you. Thank you for jumping in on that. And then I just have this delightful Porsche weekend, or 3 or 4 days it takes to go through all the builds. Growing up in Canada, I had 3 posters on my bedroom wall. I had a Bobby Orr, who I've referenced earlier. He was my hockey hero. I had O.J. Simpson, who I tend to want to remember as the greatest running back of the 1970s, not the train wreck that he has become more famous for. And I had a poster over the headboard of a Porsche 911 Turbo, all black.
Wow.
And in Canada, in the 70s, a Porsche sighting that would be a rare thing. You just didn't see them. So it was a sort of a dream car, and I just thought it looked beautiful, and it was something I would dream of. And so if I saw it in a movie, this is pre-YouTube, so it would have to be a special show. There's a Porsche. And years later, I ended up in Europe. My wife is Austrian, and Ferdinand Porsche comes from Austria. And right now, Porsches grow on trees over here. I lived in Germany, and you think of Germany, you think Volkswagen, Mercedes, Audi, BMW, Porsche. It's a car mecca, which means a well-maintained used Porsche is not too far out of reach. And so I had fun shopping and researching and test driving Porsches, and I found a well-used, a 2007 car so it was already 12 years old when I got it. It had 2 owners. I was number 3, but it was pristine. Porsche owners don't treat their cars like pickup trucks. They're pretty well looked after and just highway driven. So I got this really good used Porsche, and now it was not a poster on the wall. It was in my driveway, and I'm in a driving paradise here. I've got the Swiss Alps just to the south of me, and I've got the Black Forest, Germany, just across the right, and that's just twisty, turny country driving. And I've got the German Autobahn, which legendarily has no speed limit, and yeah, you can have some fun. So that's my fascination. And I own one and I drive one. It's not new. That would still be a dream to get a brand new 911. I've got a sort of an entry level Boxster, and it's got a lot of miles on it, but I rub it with a cloth every day. And when I get in there and the key is on the left back, a nod to the racing heritage, and that little Porsche logo is on the steering wheel, and it's just might be really old and really well run, but it's the one that I have. And so that spills over into the hobby. I'm actually nervous when I put one in front of me because I want it to be done really well because it's special to me. And that's what just came out with my 2nd year YouTube channel anniversary. And congratulations to Eddie from Simple Customs. He won the draw. And this is, I just pulled it out of a box tonight for you to see. It'll be shipped out to South Carolina. And so I put a Tag Heuer racing livery on that and had extra fun when I do it.
It looked amazing. You guys have got to look at that video. I'm not going to give it away, but that Porsche was so nice that he did it twice.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
And that's a great logo. And of course, you sent yours to Chuck to get the asphalt.
That's right.
Racing worn look, and then back again. It's got more miles on it than mine does. That's gone back and forth between you two. Yeah, they're a special car for me.
Well, so in that vein, is there a Porsche model that you have been looking for that you can't find in diecast? Is there a particular one that nobody's made?
I think they've been pretty well covered, David, and I don't know. You're much more the connoisseur for collecting and what's out there or what's coming out than I am. And really, another reason I'm not a collector is because it's not part of Swiss culture. I have to go across the border to Germany or France or Italy or Austria to find some diecasts on the pegs. And when I do, they are just the mainline cars. So I see the 944 that a lot of guys did in this recent invitational, but I don't see premiums or mini GTs or anything like that. I haven't wished for one that I can't find. I guess I could go on eBay and find anything that you can find. I just have to pay for shipping to get it. But I think they've covered the bases pretty well.
I think so.
Porsches.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't say there's one out there that I must have. I've got, via eBay, I've probably got in the mainline version most of what they have put out, be it Hot Wheels or Matchbox or Siku or Schuko are the German models, and I get Norev and Majorette from France over here are easy to find. I think I've got most of them. And if it comes from the thrift shop or eBay, it's often pretty beat up, but that's how I like to get them, and that's what the hobby is for me. Not to get a pristine one to put on a shelf, because I'm not going to look at it. I want to get my hands on it and either restore it or customize it and do something special. You let me know if something's coming down the pipe that I don't know about, and see how hard it will be.
We will
absolutely to find it. In Switzerland, you can find a 1-to-1 Ferrari easily. It's an affluent country. But to find a 1 to 64 scale anything, yeah, you've got to go to Germany across the river. Or Diecast Dude, who we follow, has featured this mega store in the Netherlands, which I haven't been to yet. It's not that Europe is without diecast possibilities. It's just that Switzerland, little place where I live, it's not, there's no hobby shops. There's no, yeah, you buy a real one. You can't find a tiny model diecast. So it's one.
All right. So the diecast scene in Switzerland, it's tough for collectors. Now we know that. Has there been a really fun place that you've caught yourself shopping, whether you probably didn't go there with that intent, but as a traveler, has there been an interesting story where you found diecast in a weird place?
I started 2 years ago. And I told you, I flew home from Canada with a bag of cars from eBay, and that was the last time I've been on an airplane. So I have lived in 7 different countries, David, professionally, and I have traveled through work or for vacation to 72 countries. And I have been in some wildly exotic places, but as a diecast hunter, only as of the last 2 years. I haven't been in an airport since that
makes
started.
sense.
But when we do travel, I favor the thrift shops because you're not going to find them in stores. And so I root through these, and like all Goodwill shops, the toys are over here and the dishes are over there and the old chest of drawers is there. So I find the spot. And if it's a little country place that, I don't think the scalpers hit the thrift shops because these are beat up old cars. But I have found some treasures serendipitously, just by accident, as I'm rooting through these. Because we like to drive. That's how we travel around Europe, and they're very small countries. So in a day, I'm often in France, Germany, and Switzerland in one day before lunch. And there's a few places I stop, and when we hit the road for vacation, let's take a break and we pull over, and I might see one of these old secondhand stores. Let's go in. Let's stretch our legs, and
absolutely
might come out with a 1 or 2 castings. That my personal budget is usually €1 for a car. And it would be very special if I want to be in a 3 Blind Mice or a 4 Horsemen invitational and I have to order a car on eBay. I may go wild and spend $2 or $3, but then it's another couple for shipping, and then I have to pay €2 at my mail depot to pick it up and leave. So all of a sudden I've got an astronomically expensive €7, but generally I can find a bag of them for a couple of dollars, and that suits me fine. They're missing wheels or cracked windshields or blistered paint. That's the fun for me. Take something awfully banged up and make it into a toy that will live again and race again.
When we get a customizer on the show, we love seeing their work. Do you have a couple examples you could maybe show us and what's coming out of the shop recently?
I do indeed. Now, again, even if I give them away, I don't give it away every week. I save them up for 2 months, and then I take a box full. So I do have some cars here that I've worked on recently, and I'll show you a couple that are special because I'm a Canadian boy, and I did an all-Canada build-off invitational last summer for Canada Day. Does anybody know that's July 1st? And I made, this is a 1 to 43, this is a 1 to 36. This is a 1 to 36 scale Mini Cooper.
Look at that.
And I like doing it. They're a little easier on these old eyes and big fingers. And this is saved up because it's going to a Canadian friend, and I don't want to shipping would cost me $40. I'm hoping to fly there for the first time in a while this summer. and this will go in my carry-on bag and be hand-delivered. And I made, I think it was a 4-horseman invitational, and we had to take a Pagani Huayra and turn it into a police vehicle. And I
That's
did this.
beautiful.
And on the side, it's RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And I put these, Mr. Pagani says that these incredibly beautiful side mirrors are designed after his wife's eyes.
Interesting.
The shape of an eye. And I thought, okay, that's not part of the original car. So out come the jeweler's glasses, magnified.
Right.
And I made a Royal Canadian Mounted Police car, and I put it on one of my first little mini diorama. It's a coffee coaster, and there's a Trans-Canada Highway sign from British Columbia. And so the Royal Canadian Mounted Police sit in their Pagani waiting for you to drive by and break the limit. And that will go to Canada on my next trip to a special friend. And I did a car as an homage to my father, who's a great hockey fan, and the Toronto Maple Leafs were our favorite team. And I took this head gasket that is quite common. It's just a main line, and I put a Toronto Maple Leafs logo, and on the back is a 1967, which is the last time they won the Stanley Cup. And I remember seeing it, and I'm a faithful believer that it will happen again. And I made that, and I thought, it's not complete. So I put a trailer behind it, and I made a hockey rink from Maple Leaf Gardens.
Good gracious.
That gets pulled behind the head gasket with a little safety pin trailer hitch. And just part of the memory, I made the world's smallest Stanley Cup.
How about Lord Stanley's Cup?
That's a 3D printer, and that rides in the trailer, and so I can remember a Stanley Cup victory parade up Yonge Street in Toronto, and that was for my dad, who we lost a couple of years ago, but he was Maple Leafs fan number one, and he would have enjoyed that. So that's going to a Canadian family member. And one last one, if I can even fit this on my laptop screen, David, that I've been making a series of Fury Road Gaslands vehicles, and this is the war rig from the movie. Let me take it apart in two pieces. And it was one of the very first Gaslands style builds that I did, and I probably should have learned to walk before I learned to run, but there it is, and all detailed out, and I mashed together several vehicles to make that. Those are 3D printed spiked tires, and then just a basic bare bones oil tanker, and I turned that into the spiked and weaponized wrecking ball war rig of the Fury Road movie franchise.
That's incredible.
And that sits on my desk because that's not kid friendly. And that's something I made for myself. And then I've added a couple of more of those as I go along. Currently, as of today, working on the Gigahorse project that'll be out probably before this video airs. And that goes on the largest diorama that I've made yet. It's about 18 inches long and a foot wide, a scorched earth wastelands looking place where I set my Fury Road cars. And that sits right in front of me. I don't have a shelf. Like I said, it's taking up some real estate on my hobby desk, but I look at those and roll them back and forth every now and then.
Those are magnificent, Andrew.
Thank you.
So many people never consider the idea of doing that small diorama, And it really puts a bow on the entire picture, doesn't it? It paints the scene.
I think so too. And inspiration comes again from watching some of my buddies online. And Benjamin Pop, BP Custom Creations,
Yep.
He's in Japan. He's an expat. He's an American living over there. And he made one that was very similar to that I showed you, just a coffee coaster. And I can do that. And I'll make that as sort of an extra 90-second featurette in the video where I'm doing the car. And that goes on the turntable at the end. Yeah, it shows them off nicely. Yeah. It's David, it's just something else that's variety is the spice of life. And when I started out, I was happy to take a beat up looking yellow car and paint it red and do a wheel swap. And then you learn and you grow and your skills increase and you want to do some different stuff and learn 3D printing or do a little bit of artwork on a diorama and then a big diorama. And then there will be a mountain and a train tunnel, and it's all to keep it interesting for me, and hopefully a variety from a shiny car to a weathered car like the truck I showed you to a Gaslands car to fantasy casting. There's from RoboCop, and this was a build-off that's coming out soon. It's a Morris Mini is
How
the
about
car.
that? Yep.
And I took the Ed 209 enforcement droid from RoboCop and a big hopped-up engine, and I thought, all right, I'll do that. It's for a 9-year-old boy who called out Uncle Paulie at Diecast Graveyard, said, "You might be good, Uncle Paulie, but you're no match for me." 9. And Uncle Paulie dropped the gauntlet and called out some friends to help out. And so there's a little, instead of Ed 209, it's Luke 209. That'll sit on the diorama. And
that's fantastic.
It's for the little fella who has good-naturedly challenged us big boys to a build-up. And he said, he's talking some smack. He said, "You guys bring a lunch because the whooping's going to last all day."
That's fantastic. That is fantastic.
He's taken an interest in the hobby, so I wanted to indulge him with Uncle Paulie and some other builders, and I thought I'll do something for the kids who are into computers and droids and CGI effects. Best that I could do it anyways.
You know,
it's always fun. Something different every week, I hope.
I have found that, I'll tell you honestly, as I think back now, it strikes me my best custom work has been when I'm responding to a challenge or I'm making a gift. And I think that brings out the best in us, and it really truly is better to give than to receive. And it just does something in our heart that really you can't duplicate doing anything else.
It's true. And back to one car equals one smile. I do give them away. Hopefully kids are just going to find it and have a toy and fun. But when it's the one that Eddie won from Simple Customs, he's a customizer. He's going to pick it up and look at it and examine it. And I got a Porsche in the mail the other day from James Hewitt, who was in the Porsche Invitational. And he said, "I want to pay it forward." The rule was give it away. He said, "I want to send it to you." And I said, "That's not the intent. I don't want everyone mailing cards." He said, "No, I want to send you one." And I got it. And I think James is one of the finest customizers out there. And he sent me this, which was his entry.
That's beautiful.
And I just did an unboxing video, and I opened this up and I said, in the movies, whenever they capture an enemy submarine, the white lab coat guys just take it apart, bolt by bolt, to see how this thing works. And I got this from someone I consider to be one of the best among us. And I just looked and turned it over in my hands, and I can't find a flaw on it. But when I said my note, I go, and I hope they don't look too closely because I'm still learning. And I goofed up on the paint there, or I didn't get that side mirror on just perfectly. and I hope it'll pass muster for whoever ends up with it. So you put yourself out there whenever you post a video, and when you mail one, that's part of my heart and soul. It's a little piece of me, and you hope it'll be received and appreciated, as I sure do when I get them from people. I'm off the beaten path here in Switzerland, but when I get a mail call, it's pretty special because it's expensive to send things to me way over here in Europe. And therefore, when they arrive, that's okay. That cost something. That's got some love in it.
Andrew, it's
special.
It's been an amazing conversation we've had, and I hate to break it to you. I don't know if nobody's told you before now, but your work is some of the best in the entire diecast community around the world, and we all appreciate it. But more than your ability to transform these cars into works of art is your ability to make the world a better place, one car at a time. And we need more Andrew and more Maple Leaf Customs in our community. So thank you on behalf of everyone.
David, you're very kind with those words. And remember this, people, words are not just spoken, they're written. And part of this hobby is the comments that we leave. I follow an awful lot of channels, and I made another commitment. If I sub to your channel, I'm going to watch your videos. I'm not going to be invisible and never come back. And there's a lot of content out there. And I've also made a personal pledge. I will watch the whole video. I don't fast forward through anything. So when I see Twice Diecast with a 8-minute video, oh, no problem. Cup of coffee. I'll be right back. When it's going to be 29 minutes, I might have to put that off to later in the day when I'm free. And I'm going to leave a comment and find something in there. And it's not hard to find something in a video, be it a collection or a customization, that I can say, wow, that really rang the bell. And I hope you feel like $1,000,000 after, because I sure do when people leave me kind replies. My comments come under Maple Leaf Customs, not Andrew Price. So people associate the feedback with the channel. And that's part of the mission statement too, I guess, David, is just leaving people built up. I think we need more Beach Boys good vibrations out there and just spread the love. And you know what? It's a great venue to do it. YouTube and comments. I'm so glad they took the thumbs down counter away. Best thing they ever did. It was a vestigial organ. Why would I leave a thumbs down and a negative comment? I'll find something good,
right,
to say.
Yeah.
And I hope at the end of that video, that comment leaves the creator, the collector, the racer, the diecast hunter feeling it was worth his or her time to post that video. Somebody enjoyed it and took a moment to leave a nice word. It's not that hard to be a positive person.
But sometimes it just has to be intentional, guys. So this has been so encouraging to me, and I'm talking to the viewers and the listeners now. And this is why I really jumped at the opportunity to get you, Andrew, on the show. To be respectful of your time, I know it's getting late. We'll go ahead and make our way toward the finish line. If there's any last bit of advice you want to give anybody out there in the hobby, or any life advice for anybody watching.
Everybody watching, posting videos, commenting on videos, be kind, be positive, be uplifting and encouraging, because you never know what that person is going through at that moment. And if I can be a builder-upper, then that's what I want to do. And one day, I hope to meet some of the kids who got these cars. They do all go out with a Maple Leaf Customs on the bottom and the blister pack. That would be great. But even if I don't, let's hope that through our hobby and the far-reaching tentacles of YouTube, which is global, which is one of your focuses. And guys, I'm in Switzerland, David's in Alabama, and we're having a great talk. You can make a difference. with your video and your comments, and be intentional, as David said. It's not that hard to do. You'll feel good reading it. I feel great leaving a good comment for you. And everybody, enjoy the hobby, have fun. That's why we do it. Us big boys with our little toys, great memories. It's nostalgia. I'm happy building them. I'm happy dropping them off at the store. And I really hope you've enjoyed watching my channel. Thanks for all the support and encouragement you have all given to me. I've never had to block one person. I don't think I've been trolled yet, or maybe they're in a spam folder and I don't know how to open that. It's all been 100% positive and fun. Let's keep that rolling.
Amen. I could not have said it better myself, so I'm not going to add to that. I hope you guys have enjoyed Andrew's interview today. I will link the description to his channel under the video that they post. And Andrew, we thank you so much for joining us, my friend. It's been a pleasure.
Great fun. It was a real pleasure to be a guest on the show. I think you guys are onto a real good thing. Keep that going, and promise I'll be dialed in from Basel, Switzerland. All
Sounds good.
God bless everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a terrific day.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Always a pleasure to sit down with folks like Andrew. If you don't know Maple Leaf Customs, you got to check out his channel. On top of being a super cool guy, he does some of the best customs in the world, and I'd like for you to see his work, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Once again, I want to thank Andrew for being here. He has been a longtime supporter of this show and the Flying Valiant builds before that, and I am grateful to him and all that he has done for the community. I am grateful to Rob for coming in and filling in for Mark while he takes care of some stuff. Rob, thank you again for coming on. Again, Scale Enthusiasm, check it out. We'll have the link to his channel in the description below, and we'll be watching, so we'll know if you subscribe or not. So be sure to check it out.
Andrew has an awesome channel. I'll back that up. He goes into great detail about the custom builds. You can learn a lot about that. That's one of the big things about his channel. And aside from the generosity, but yeah, he really does, he gives those things away, not expecting anything back, but nobody's even going to know it was him necessarily that did it. So yeah, fantastic channel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I hope you think that we have a fantastic channel too. So if you do think so, please like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Click the bell. If you're listening to us on the audio version, please go over to Apple Podcasts and give us a honest 5-star review if you like what we do. For every 5-star review we get on the channel, I am giving it 2 cars to the Day of Giving. So be sure to check that out. Thank you, David, for the visual aid there. So yeah, again, as always, we want to thank you for coming along with us for the ride. So until next time, stay fresh, cheese bags.